Of course, a lot of people likely don't believe in heaven or hell, and many will dismiss such things as mythical tales or folklore. However, there are places on Earth that could be considered hell. No, not Detroit or Wichita. We're talking about actual places that look like the entrances to purgatory. So, without further delay, let's take a look at the 5 real gateways to hell you can actually visit. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, let's begin. Number 5. Cape Matapan Caves. Our first gateway is an entrance to the classical hell, the Cape Matapan Caves, which are located on the southernmost tip of the Greek mainland. Cape Matapan, also known as Cape Tanaran or Tanar, is situated on the end of the peninsula known as the Mani. The caves open at sea level into a cliff face beneath the headland, the exact point marked by the ruins of a Spartan temple above. This was one of several entrances that the ancient Greeks ascribed to Hades, the kingdom of the shades. Others were to be found at the Necromantion on Ephyra on the river Acheron, as well as at Alepa, another smaller cave network on the Mani. When Orpheus traveled down to Hades to rescue Eurydice, it was said to be through the cave on Cape Matapan. Hercules likewise used these caverns when he made his own descent to the underworld. The geographer Pausanias identified Cape Matapan as the point where, supposedly, Cerberus was brought up from Hades by Heracles. These are not the only legends ascribed to the remote peninsula, however. The Spartans viewed this as a highly significant place of worship, and they built several temples to their gods along the rocky headland. Most prominent amongst these surviving ruins are the remains of a temple dedicated to the sea god Poseidon, which is located on a hill directly above the cave to Hades. Another story related by Pausanias linked to the picturesque cape relates to the poet Arion, who escaped from pirates to be carried ashore by a pod of dolphins. A bronze statue of the poet riding a dolphin stands on the crest of the cape, not far from the ruins of a temple raised in honor of the sea god Poseidon. The caves at Cape Matapan feature an intricate tapestry of stalactites and stalagmites, and while they're partially beneath the water level, it is possible to visit the caverns by boat and pass through the watery mouth of this particular hell gate. Number 4. Fengdu Ghost City, China. Apparently, if you're feeling brave enough, you can test your soul in the domain of the Chinese King of Hell. You probably weren't even aware one existed until now. However, numerous shrines, temples, and monasteries pepper Fengdu Ghost City, but all of them are dedicated to the afterlife. Legends link the site to the King of the Underworld. Would you dare to enter his domain? Fengdu Ghost City is a site located on the Ming Mountain in Fengdu City in the southwestern Chinese municipality of Chongqing. Due to its location, Fengdu Ghost City has become a popular tourist attraction amongst travelers on cruises traversing the length of the Yangtze River. In 1994, the construction of the Three Gorge Dam began, causing a rise in the water level of the Yangtze River, and turning Fengdu Ghost City into an island. According to legend, Fengdu gained its reputation as a ghost city during the Eastern Han Dynasty. During this period, there lived 2 individuals named Ying Changshen and Wang Fangping, both of whom served as officials in the imperial court. One day, the pair decided to quit their jobs and headed to Ming Mountain, where they practiced self-cultivation in accordance with the teachings of Taoism. As a result of this, the 2 men succeeded in achieving immortality. During the Tang Dynasty, the surnames of these 2 officials, Yin and Wang, were combined, mistakenly according to one source, to form Yin Wang, which meant the King of the Underworld. The claim that the King of Hell lived in Fengdu also began to circulate at that time. Additionally, during the Tang Dynasty, a huge temple depicting the afterlife was erected. These scenes, which included dioramas and statues, were meant to convey the message that the good would be treated well, whilst the wicked would be tortured and punished in hell. Other structures were added by succeeding dynasties. The best known of these are a trio of attractions: the Naihe Bridge, where the virtuous are said to be able to cross the bridge safely. Those who have led evil lives are believed to be pushed by demons into the water below. The Tianzi Palace. Here, the souls of the dead report to the King of Hell for judgment, and the dead are issued a road pass, which serves as evidence so that they may register in the afterlife and the Goemon Gate. The test here is for a person to stand on a large stone located in front of the gate on one leg. While a good person can do this easily, an evil one apparently cannot, leading them to be punished in the afterlife. According to Chinese traditional belief, a soul would need to pass these tests before reaching the afterlife. Number 3. St. Patrick's Purgatory. On a small island in the middle of an Irish lake called Lough Derg, there's a gateway to hell. According to legend, the site dates from the 5th century, when Christ showed St. Patrick a cave, sometimes referred to as a pit or well, on Station Island that was an entrance to hell. Legend maintains that St. Patrick had grown discouraged by the doubts of his potential converts, who told him they would not believe his teachings until they had substantial proof. St. Patrick prayed that God would help him relate the word of God and convert the Irish people, and in return, God revealed to him a pit in the ground, which he called Purgatory. By showing this place to the people, they would believe all that he said. By witnessing Purgatory, the people would finally know the reality of the joys of heaven and the torments of hell. Fair enough, but let's dig a little deeper here. Charles Baudelaire famously stated that the greatest trick the devil ever played was convincing the world that he didn't exist. This sentiment was used to great effect in the denouement of 1995's modern classic, The Usual Suspects. Besides the blarnery and bluff of our perception of St. Patrick, the greatest trick he ever played was convincing pagan Ireland that the devil did in fact exist, and to look lively or else they'd be getting to know him for eternity. St. Patrick remains a phenomenon in Ireland, revered by all as the quintessential Irishman, yet in truth, he was a Welsh shepherd, remembered with a holy feast every March that has notoriously become the world's greatest excuse to get completely drunk. There are 4 iconic sites of St. Patrick on the island of Ireland: St. Patrick's Purgatory in Donegal, Croagh Patrick in Mayo, the Hill of Tara in Meath, and the Rock of Cashel in Tipperary. Interspersed with these 4 are plenty of holy wells and other sites from Slemish to Downpatrick that Peripatetic Paddy is believed to have been at. Each of these locations serves a purpose in the phenomenon of the saint's mission to convert pagan Ireland to Christianity. Number 2. The Gates of Guinea. According to the teachings of voodoo, the souls of the dead reside in a portion of the underworld known as Guinea. This is not a place of torture or punishment, but rather a murky plane which spirits must pass through before reaching the, quote, deep waters, where they'll be reunited with their ancestors. Guinea is presided over by the Loa known as Baron Samedi, often depicted as a skeleton in corpse paint dressed up in a top hat and tails. The Baron is a powerful symbol of death and rebirth, guarding the crossroads which form portals to other worlds. The most important of all these portals are the Gates of Guinea themselves. Theories regarding the Gates of Guinea vary from one voodoo practitioner to another. Some see the 7 gates as a metaphor for the 7 days after death. According to the voodoo belief, the soul remains close to its corpse for the first week, during which time the deceased is at the highest risk of being zombified by hoodoo magicians. During this symbolic period, the soul passes through one gate followed by another to be met by Baron Samedi at the 7th and escorted to the land of the dead. Others believe the Gates of Guinea have their physical counterpoint on Earth. Voodoo practitioners in New Orleans have sometimes claimed that the 7 gates are located in various local cemeteries scattered around Canal Street, which runs through the city's French Quarter. At one point, there were a total of 17 different burial grounds located in this district, placing Canal Street at the heart of a veritable city of the dead. Nearby sites such as the St. Louis Cemetery and the St. Louis Cemetery No. 2 present themselves as likely spots for a gateway, along with a range of other potential locations in the area such as Greenwood Cemetery, the Cypress Grove Cemetery, and the St. Patrick Cemetery. The order the gates are opened in is also of key significance. Approached incorrectly, the gates can allow dangerous spirits to enter the world of the living, dragging the unwary seeker, body and soul, back with them to the land of the dead. A traditional rhyme amongst the voodoo practitioners of New Orleans is said to describe the proper timing for opening the Gates of Guinea: 7 nights, 7 moons, 7 gates, 7 tombs. It's also critical that a seeker pays due respect to the guardian at each gate. These are all power loas, the spirits of Haitian voodoo, that set the task of keeping the living out of the land of the dead. They must be appeased with ritual offerings and are quick to anger. At the time of Marie Laveau, a list was compiled of the guide who guarded each gate. Number 1. Huska Castle. If you're looking for a one-way trip to the underworld, there's no shortage of alleged gateways to hell hidden all over the world. Kansas has the infamous Stoll Cemetery, Greece has the Cape Matapan Caves, and Indiana had the Demon House, until Ghost Adventures' Zach Bagans tore it down. And though each location has a rich and fantastical history of unimaginable evil, none of them can compete with the terrifying background of the haunted Houska Castle. Many of the world's so-called gateways to hell amount to nothing more than a creepy setting with a really spooky urban legend attached. But then there's Houska Castle, a 762-year-old Gothic castle that was built to seal shut what locals believe is the real-life entrance to the underworld. Constructed between 1253 and 1278 in the Czech countryside, the location of the massive mansion was specifically chosen in order to seal up a mysterious bottomless pit where demonic creatures would enter our world after the sun went down. Terrifying stories about the pit and the monsters that would claw their way out of it at night, black-winged creatures that were half human and half animal, spread far and wide. Villagers were terrified to be out of their homes at night, and many of them would never venture anywhere close to the hole, even during the brightest daylight hours. Before construction of the Hellmouth Fortress began, all of the village's prisoners who had been sentenced to death were marched to the edge of the bottomless pit and condemned to a particularly sinister fate. They were tossed in. Any prisoners who managed to make their way back from the pit alive were forgiven for their transgressions and set free. As you might imagine, that didn't happen very often. Today, mysterious phenomena can still be witnessed inside Houska Castle's walls. In an effort to contain the demonic powers that hid below, the castle's chapel was built directly over top of the bottomless pit, and many visitors have heard what they describe as a chorus of screams coming from beneath the heavy floor. In the same area, numerous witnesses have described encountering a horrible creature that looks like a hybrid of a human, frog, and a bulldog. Hope you enjoyed the video, Top Fivers. If you haven't already, check out our other channel, The Brilliant, to enjoy even more amazing list videos. There will be a link in the description, so make sure you go check that out, as well as